we have a Microsoft report on some of the cyber attacks that have been going on in Ukraine. So what's interesting to note about these attacks is that they have increasingly been using wiper malware, which is like ransomware, only with no key. So it's designed to just destroy as many files as possible, and it really doesn't have any way to actually recover them once they are destroyed. It's also notable that a lot of these attacks, up to 40%, were against critical infrastructure. So we're talking about things that are not like military targets. They're basically civilian targets that would affect everybody in the country. So some of the attack vectors as well have been pretty standard things like phishing, unmitigated problems and vulnerabilities, that sort of thing. And then also compromising upstream providers. So sometimes if there is a third-party company that is serving a lot of these entities, it itself becomes the target of these spear phishing or other sorts of campaigns to target critical infrastructure and maybe shut down gas, power, or other sectors that would have really big repercussions for the country. So this report is fairly lengthy. You can check it out if you want. I've retweeted it, but it gives a little bit of insight into what it looks like to be at full-scale cyber war against a country. And in this case, the attacks have been relentless and not very targeted against military targets. They've been basically against any target that might have secondary effects on the military or government of Ukraine. So obviously a scary time to be a civilian in Ukraine when any sort of vulnerability in power system or any sort of equipment that might be outdated or unpatched for a long period of time is suddenly fair game for these more destructive styles of attack than we've started to expect from criminal groups that at least want to get paid. So, they're not going to destroy your data if they can charge you for it.
Trying to find the report, but I actually found it. There were something like 237 different cyber attacks that were specifically launched against Ukraine in the past 2 months, which I thought was crazy. And also, as you can see, there's a lot of very specific implementations of malware that were crafted for purposes of disinformation or ransomware or wipers or stuff like that that are targeting Ukraine. So there's, an alarming amount of attacks that are going on.
All right, so over on my screen, we have Chinese hackers getting in on the, I'm not going to call it fun, the action in Ukraine by targeting Russian military personnel. So this is notable in that in the conflict in Ukraine, lots of different foreign agencies want to know what's going on the ground. And because they might not have initial access themselves, they're relying on some of this cyber warfare techniques to be able to break in and get the information themselves. So what's interesting is that a lot of these documents have been targeted towards people who might have experience on the Chinese border. So the attack chain starts with a malicious executable named, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, but it's a border detachment that is primarily Chinese border detachment area, again, across the Russian-Chinese border. So presumably this is targeting Russian soldiers who would be active in that area, or at least familiar with it. So this is a pretty sophisticated attack, and this is also a group that has been linked to China in the past, also known as Nomad Panda, aka Red Foxtrot. But I've also seen, I think I've seen this group called Mustang Panda too as well. There's just so many silly names for this particular group, but they seem pretty serious about getting some sort of access to information about what's going on in Ukraine. And in this case, it looks like they're willing to do some pretty sophisticated cyber espionage in order to do it. All right, so that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to everybody who's in the chat asking questions and commenting on the stories. And if you have any questions about anything that we've covered, or if you're watching on repeat, you can always leave a comment and we will make sure to answer it on our live Q&A streams, which we do every Wednesday now. So on our last Q&A stream, we had Darren Kitchen on, as well as Mike, who does Kismet, as well as some of the new improvements on the Wi-Fi Pineapple that we got to discuss. And that was super cool. So you can check out our live stream on Wednesday if you want to see us on Hack 5, maybe have a special guest on and ask questions and get them answered in real time. So big shout out, of course, to Veronis for letting us to continue to do this stream, which is really fun. And also shout out to everybody in the chat for just being here with us and getting to check in with us at the end of the week. Lots of fun to talk to all of you. And yeah, Alex, thanks for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you all next week. Have a good one.